Creator of this magical magnificence. There is enough to be thankful for to fill every minute of every day of our lives. And yet there are those who work to take that for which we are grateful away. Even life itself. It's the conundrum that we must face. We love our lives and every God-given freedom and expression, yet we must at times be willing to risk those very freedoms to preserve them. Life is precious. This is the gratitude. It is about survival, but not for self alone, but for the whole of humanity. Our very existence requires our freedoms, our God-given, unalienable rights. It is this that we know. It is this that is our joy, our love. It is the one true expression of God. And so it is.
Hello, my name's Ron Vroman. I'm the old white man talking head for the Oregon Statewide General Assembly. I'm going to bring a little information to you. Some of it you know and some of it you may not know. In any case, there really is a conspiracy. And the conspiracy is the industrial, military, judicial, legislative, executive, banker, bar, royalist, Nazi, communist, Muslim, Catholic, Jewish, Georgia Guidestones. Now, when this conspiracy that we were supposed to be aware of was brought to our attention in 1960 by the outgoing president, Dwight D. Eisenhower, leaving it for the incoming president, John F. Kennedy, he said, beware of the industrial military complex.
Our toil, resources, and livelihood are all involved. So is the very structure of our society. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals, so that security and liberty may prosper together.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed.
Well, it's gotten a lot worse. We now have a medical industry that really needs watching, because we thought we had a little protection anyhow from the Hippocratic oath, first do no wrong, but apparently that doesn't hold. The doctors at the VA, they want to shoot everybody up, whether you want it or not, and they refuse to let you into their building without a mask. Can't trust people like that. If they're willing to violate your due process and your unalienable rights, how could you trust them to take care of your body? They wouldn't. So On industry, it's really difficult to figure out an industry that the government doesn't control. They've figured out a way since 1861 federally to control almost everything, and they do it by color of law. So, industry, yeah, pretty much. Walmart just about wiped out the small business in many communities. Then the COVID did an excellent job of wiping out another bunch of businesses. And they buy out, combine, and pretty soon what used to be a healthy industry is now owned by one person or six, like the entire media. So then they say military is number two. Well, I have to agree with them on that. The military wrote up for Lincoln, his name was Lieber, a plan on how to control and govern the United States by martial law, called the Lieber Code. It's still in effect. We checked with the Army Heritage, and in 2015, the Lieber Code from 1863, I believe, was still in effect and updated in 2015. The military is actually running a benevolent, predatory martial law. And they do their best to keep it quiet, but it's becoming more and more obvious. The military's not on our side. The military's part of the issue, part of the problem. We've done a lot to try and contact the military. You can talk to them once if you get them on the phone. They'll never talk to you again. When you start telling them what you know and wanting to know why they never talk to you again. Won't return emails. So the military, one of two industries, for lack of a better word, that uses a title of nobility, gentleman. Now, why is that? Why are officers in the military gentlemen? By act of Congress. And why did Congress give them a title of nobility? I don't know, but I don't trust them. And I did 3 years, 11 months, and 28 days in the United States Navy. I'm part of that system. They're not cool. They could be, but they're not. And the next one is legislature. The Washington, D.C. legislature knows they're in color of law. We interviewed a former representative from Georgia on this channel. And he told us, yeah, everybody in Washington knows that this isn't a constitutional Republican form of government. It's play pretend. The benevolent form of it is pretty much gone now. The Oregon legislature hasn't been a proper legislature since November 8th, 1910. I don't know about the other states, but I think they're about the same. So the legislature is part of the conspiracy. Next is the executive branch. On Oregon, we got Kate Brown. So we know how constitutionally proper she is. She's already been convicted.
Kate Brown, Ron Wyden, Jeff Berkeley, and Suzanne Bonamici have been found to be without honor. They cannot hold a position of trust and are not considered to be bondable and insurable. They must vacate their elected office immediately. Additionally, with the penalty phase to be determined at a later date, Kate Brown, Ron Wyden, Jeff Merkley, and Suzanne Bonamici are all found guilty of misprision of felony, with Article 7 amended on docket 03092012A. Notice to the agent is notice to the principal. Notice to the principal is notice to the agent. The jury in our Amendment 7 Common Law Court of Records so declares. The guilty verdict was given to the clerk after they vote for this by the foreperson, who is Tanya.
Okay, so I want to do a poll on the jury. Does everybody find them guilty of what they're charged of? It's unanimous.
Donald J. Trump, when he was president, my daughter thinks it's okay. He just did a little bit bad. He did a lot of good. Not true. Not true. Donald John Trump, when he was the chief executive of the United States, Inc., broke his oath several times. When you break your oath, you have no honor. You cannot hold a position of trust. So, executive, yeah, they fit. Next comes banker. Well, the Federal Reserve, the Rothschilds, and everything else that goes along with banking is definitely not for our health, peace, and prosperity. They're part of the Siskiyou Trust, the fraud of the birth certificate. Yep, bankers are part of it. BAR stands for British Accreditation Registry, out of the city of London, allegedly. Hard to get proof on that. But we do know the Oregon State Bar gives a new attorney to their bar the option. Do you want to be a JD, Juris Doctor, or do you want to be an Esquire? Esquire is a title of nobility. Why are they Esquires? Why did they do that? It's not for our benefit. The people that are members of the bar are all the judiciary on Oregon, all the prosecutors, and all of the attorneys that are members of the Oregon State Bar, which is almost all of them. You might find an outlier once in a while, but I haven't been able to. If you find one, let me know. I'd really like to talk to him. The bar is not our friend. We did a program right here on the 12 presumptions. You ought to take a look at it. If you hire an attorney and you're a man, you just became a slave and a ward of the court. Ignorant and stupid, unable to take care of yourself. It says so right in their presumptions. Yeah, bar's got to be part of the conspiracy. Next on the list is royalists. Boy, the Canadians are sure finding out about royalty now, aren't they? In Canadian law, a law has to pass muster with the Queen before it's a law. It says so right in the way they do business. Now, they got a charter in 1982, and hopefully that charter in 1982 guides them through this morass that they're in now. God bless those people. Truck drivers from Canada leading the parade. Hallelujah. Okay. Nazi. Why did I say Nazi? Well, look up paperclip. The CIA and the federal government which included Dwight D. Eisenhower at that time and Harry S. Truman, imported thousands, literally thousands, of German scientists and German doctors and German engineers, and they were all Nazis. They brought them over here and they turned them loose to build the NASA. National Aeronautics and Space Administration, and all the rest of the rocketry. Werner von Braun. What they're doing with the vaccine is from Mengele. Dr. Mengele from the Nazis. They're alive and well. Look through the names of the second and third generation Nazis that are in government. Amazing how many German names come there, and when you look them up and you find out, yeah, their parent or grandparent was imported by the CIA, Nazis. Then the next thing is communists. The social democrat operation that's going on all across the nation. And when people like Soros figure out a way to finance the election of all of the district attorneys and attorney generals around the nation that he could. And if you go far enough on the right with Nazis, you come around to the same place when you went far enough on the left with communists that they're the same. They're not for us. They are not for a constitutional Republican form of government. That's what we're guaranteed. That's what we're going for this year. Okay, the next thing is Muslim. The manifesto for the Muslims is called the Quran. And I've read a lot of translations of it. I don't read Arabic, so I can't read it in the original. But they have a lot of things in there that are really peculiar. One is a Muslim is required by the Quran and by Sharia to either kill, convert, or collect a fee from infidel men, women, or chattel. That's right in their book. Right in their book says they have to overturn every government and convert it to Sharia law. It's right in their manifesto. And people think you can be friends with these guys. Well, you can't. It says right in their book, you can't. And they are encouraged to lie, cheat, steal, and kill infidels. It's right in the book. You can look it up. So I read that Muslims are converting to Christianity all over the place. I find that very interesting. Takes a lot of courage to do that, because right in their book it says if you do that, they put out a fatwa on you and you are sentenced to death. Interesting people do things. Let's see. The next thing after Muslim is Catholics. People take credit for removing Benedict or Benedictine or Benedict the former Nazi youth that rose through the Catholic Church to become Pope, that quit, and this Pope Francis, who built a big cathedral for himself that looks like a snake, and he kissed two Muslims on the cheek and said, "We're all one." Yeah. And then you look around at the things that they find when they start poking into nunneries and things like that in Ireland and various other places. It's not good. It's not good at all. Yep, the Catholics have a lot to answer for. Yep, they're part of it. Then Jewish, the Khazarian Mafia. I read about that. A long time ago, a guy with a huge population in his clan or group decided to become Jewish, and so they did. That was their selected religion. Boy, they've sure done a lot of vile things. They have a 90% plus inoculation rate in Israel. How could the people that survived the Holocaust and survived building a country, Israel, among their enemies on all sides, how could they believe that taking a vaccination was going to protect them from a disease that's not a disease? There's no proof. Recovery rate. The whole thing's a scam. So, yeah, the Jews got to be in there too. And then the Georgia Guidestones. If you haven't looked up the Georgia Guidestones, please do. DuckDuckGo, Georgia Guidestones. I talked to a guy recently, a former Scientologist. He was a Scientologist for a lot of years. He was a close associate of L. Ron Hubbard, who invented it. And he said he was with L. Ron Hubbard when he paid for the Georgia Guidestones. Now, I don't know whether that's true or not. Doesn't make much difference. Scientologists are not good people. They're not. Just read about them a little bit. They have the theory that if you place yourself in a position that they can rip you off, it's your fault. That's very similar to the bar associations. He who can be deceived, let him. That's not cool either. We want and we are going for a constitutional Republican form of government. And the industrial, military, judiciary, legislative, executive, banker, bar, royalist, Nazi, communist, Muslim, Catholic, Jewish, Georgia Guidestone, those are the enemy. And we have to win this to be entitled to be free men and women on the land, without ruler and without subject. Visit us at www.orsja.org. Thank you, and I yield.
Georgia granite shows a number of these 10 commandments. The top, as Angie will try to show, says, maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. And it has a bunch of other impressive and broad-sounding platitudes that are typical of the globalist movement. Statements that are so broad that they can be interpreted many different ways. Of course, the very objectionable thing and troubling thing about the first commandment, notice that it's first, is to maintain humanity at a balance of under 500 million. That would mean getting rid of upwards of 6 billion people in some mysterious way that the mysterious founders of these stones are not telling us, since they like to hide in the shadows and not stand up and be accountable or known for what they do. At any rate, the Earth Charter, drawn up some years ago in conjunction with the United Nations, has Stephen Rockefeller behind it, who is the son of Nelson Rockefeller, one of his sons, and he very strongly pushed the Earth Charter. And if you look up the Earth Charter at earthcharter.org online, you'll see a very close philosophical kinship with the Georgia Guidestones philosophy and the Earth Charter. It's this idea that fewer people on the world makes the world a better place, when Christianity and a number of other outlooks completely contradict that view. The globalists have given us man-made global warming, which is turning out to be a sham. They've given us their so-called global cooling back in the 1970s that turned out not to be true. We were constantly given scare stories, and we're constantly being preached at by the globalists about how there has to be fewer people on the earth, and that we have to always bend to their will for elitist projects and central banking and interventionist wars and onerous environmental regulations, where we have to deindustrialize our nation and live a much more pauperized living and lifestyle.
They do not want to let go of this. They do not intend on losing here. And we do not intend giving it back to them.
And then the bullets started flying. Then he jumps out of the car, and he's got both his hands up.
And he got out of the car, and he had his hands in the air. He's like, "Just shoot me then. This is what you want, just shoot me." And they did. They shot him dead. With his hands in the air, and I saw it. I swear to God. He was just walking with his hands in the air. And they shot him. And they shot him dead, and then after he was down on the ground, shot him 3 more times.